Hello, and thank you for listening to another episode of the Law Firms of the Future. I'm thrilled to welcome Nir Golan, former General Counsel and Global Head of Legal Operations at Atenti Global. Based in Tel Aviv, Nir is an attorney and legal operations professional focused on advising and working with multinational technology and innovation-based companies and startups on their global transactions, operations, and activities. He's a strong believer that working in the legal industry is about problem solving, creating solutions, and delivering business outcomes. Nir actively speaks and writes thought leadership on the future of law, legal innovation, and legal operations. He advocates for innovation in law through close collaboration and co-creation between firms and customers, and bringing new non-legal skills, methodologies, and mindsets to the legal profession. So with that introduction, welcome, Nir.
Hi, Bernie. Hi. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you here. So I would like to start by asking you to dive more into your background and career trajectory.
Okay. So I've been an attorney for about 15 years, mostly tech. So in Israel, if people are not familiar with Israel, so our most important and significant industry is the tech industry. So if you're in corporate or commercial lawyer, most of your work is probably with startups, venture capital funds, mergers and acquisitions, etc. And this is what I've been doing from day one. So working with a lot of entrepreneurs and innovation-based companies. And I work both in private practice in the biggest law firms in Israel and in-house for various tech companies. And I spent the last 3 years with a big focus on legal operations and legal innovation. This is something that I've become very, very passionate about, and I really believe that's something that requires a very strong focus now. I think it's a great time to focus on this, and so it's something that I truly passionate about.
Absolutely. And I completely agree that now is the time to focus on it. And for any of you listeners, by the way, who aren't following Nir on LinkedIn, I highly encourage you to do so. Really insightful thought leadership on pretty much a daily basis regarding some of these really important topics. But to kind of further explore a little bit more your experience working in-house, what have been some of your observations about basically the common mistakes or things that traditional law firms should be doing differently right now?
So it's interesting because I think in the last 10 days I've been speaking with a lot of different firms about this question, a lot of different global firms, and I think the answer, the issue that really comes up a lot is that they're not speaking with their customers. It's as surprising as it is. I find that pre-COVID, I think this was so. I spent a lot of time working with a global panel of law firms, and the biggest issue that I've always had was that they were they're always in a hurry to tell me what it is that we need and what the right solution is for the problem, and they didn't really spend enough time actually asking the right questions or really trying to understand our problems and our business issues. And I think this was so before COVID, and I think this disconnect has been amplified by COVID. I think that if you speak with a lot of general counsels, they'll tell you a lot of the same thing. And the issue is that they haven't been contacted by the firms during this time, saying, "Hi, how are you? Is there something that you need? What can we help you with?" We haven't had this kind of initiative, by firms. I think it's most of the work by firms has been around webinars and sending long memos around force majeure, et cetera, filling up everybody's mailboxes, but there haven't actually been any human initiatives, just giving the buyers and the general counsels a call to see how they're doing. And I think that's a big issue for firms. And when I ask firms why do you do that, they say, well, we're afraid we don't want to we're not sure how you respond. We don't know if you'll ask us something that we don't know the answer to. We feel that we might be bothering you, and therefore we don't want to be in that position. And so it always, when I hear those answers, I just realize how big the disconnect is between firms and customers. Because I think if firms have a relationship with their customers, I mean, this is the first human basic thing they should be doing. It's everything's so overwhelming now, and why not just pick up the phone and just say hi? I think it will do an enormous. It will be an enormous benefit to firms, and I think that is something that the general counsels will remember. It's what we all need at the end of the day. We just want to feel that we're not alone.
Exactly. And I was going to say, I think now has been a time that people just globally have universally been feeling really lonely. Socially distancing for extended periods of time is something that I think is challenging for humans as a social kind of species. But it's especially interesting that lawyers are suffering from this issue of, being indecisive about whether to connect or not, because professional services are about humans and humans delivering services to other humans. So it's a really interesting disconnect.
Yeah, I think so. Yes, I think it's a fascinating disconnect. I think it's just it's an industry that is so used to being the expert, and telling customers what it is that they need, what it is that they want, and always having the answers. That it's just so afraid of being in any vulnerable position of not knowing, of saying I don't know, or just experimenting. Just experimenting, and and I think that's also one of the reasons that we have such a, let's say, lack of innovation in the legal industry, because this is exactly what you should be doing. The only way to evolve is by trying new things and by not always knowing the answers to the questions that you're about to ask. This lack of curiosity is I think is a problem. It's a big problem, because this is what it is. I think it really is just a lack of curiosity. Because at the end of the day, it's just picking up the phone. Like you say, we are a human to human industry, and yet it often feels like the people providing the services lack the human skills to provide it.
Yeah. And I think that's a great segue to my next question, which is about the fundamental skills that you think many of today's lawyers are missing in their delivery of legal services. So would definitely like to hear more about that.
Okay. I think that, so if before it was all about, excellence and being an expert in your field, I think today that's a given. I think that's really, that's just the basic skill, legal knowledge. I think this goes at the bottom of the pyramid. And I think that, I think the market is shifting from being about knowledge to experience. So from delivering legal knowledge to delivering an experience. And I think that if before the delivery of legal services was about knowledge and what, I think today it's about the how. And this is what I'm talking about. This is just the things we were talking about. It's how we deliver it. Do we understand the customer? Can we have any basic curiosity or empathy about what the customer needs, what they're going through, what their pressures are, what their competition is about, who is their competition, what complexities they have right now. And I think so. I think two really important skills that are lacking, I would say one is curiosity and experimentation, which I like putting that together. Not knowing and being curious and trying new things, even if you don't know how that's going to work out, and having a deep sense of empathy for your customers. Really, putting yourself in their shoes. I once asked a customer, one of my customers, I asked them, what is it that you need from legal? He said, all I need is just to see things from my eyes. And it's something that stuck with me since. and that's really what we want. We want you to deliver your services in a manner that I can easily apply it to my business, so that I don't have to, basically do it all over again because it's not applicable to whatever it is problem that I'm working on. It's not applicable to my business or to my problem. And this requires a lot of empathy. It requires a lot of, having these open and deep conversations with customers, asking questions, asking open questions, and understanding what the needs are. So I think these skills are very, very much lacking. Again, of course, there's the whole thing around technology and having technology skills. Being open to experimenting with new technologies that can help us provide a better output for our customers. So I think that's also something that they're always being curious. Is there a better way of doing this? How can we deliver this better? There must be a better way. These are the questions that I like to ask myself when I work with customers. And I think that if we talk about innovation, this is exactly what it's about. It's about having this curiosity, having this empathy of spending this time of understanding what the needs are, so that we can, together with the customer through experimentation, co-create and together build something that the customer actually needs. So these are for me, these are really the pillars of innovation.
And I think what you're saying makes perfect sense. But I think one term that you used in an earlier conversation that we had that I really liked is innovation theater. And I think that term actually describes a lot of other practices of large law firms, or some large law firms that, for example, they hire marketing departments that comprise hundreds of people, but those marketing departments just produce more client alerts on force majeure. Or, a law firm will have a hackathon, but that hackathon results in some cool, nifty projects, but no projects that actually solve a real challenge that really frustrates people in the day-to-day. So the question, or pretty much the thought I'm trying to get to, is that what you're saying is very sensible, but many traditional law firms are clearly not operating that way. So what do you think they should do to change these kind of entrenched practices that are really holding them back from truly helping their clients?
Okay, I think that they should be more focused on understanding problems than just to jumping to solutions. And I think this is a lot of the innovation theater that we see. A lot of firms, they want to have these PRs about using this and this technology, etc. But they haven't done the basic thing. Is just to spend time with their customers to understand what their problems are. And so I think that the best way to tackle that would be, I think one way is to spend time with customers. So I think that one of the most amazing sources of innovation are our customers. There's so much that we can learn from them. What their business is, what they need, and it can be a great source of differentiation. Because our industry is very much about imitating what other competitors are doing, basically. It's very hard to find firms that will be willing to be the first ones to do something. The first question that always comes up is, okay, tell me who else is doing it. I want to know who else is doing it. And I think it's a mistake, because I don't think that really creates any real innovation and differentiation. And the real source of differentiation and innovation is our customers. And if we start there, if we start by understanding what they need, and together with them through collaboration and co-creation to create something with them, that could be an amazing source of innovation. A great example for that is Amazon. This is what Amazon's doing. This is their number one principle. Jeff Bezos always say that it's always day one, and he says in order for not to go into a status of stagnation, because stagnation then leads to death. He says in order to be day one, you have to be obsessed with the customer, and always start with the customer and work backwards. And I'm a big believer in that. So I think that's one of the biggest misses that I've seen. And I think that one of the reasons maybe is that we don't have enough people in the delivery operations or innovation side in firms that have been a customer. It's usually mostly people who are exclusively on the provider side. And I think, well, I mean, we talk about diversity. I think one of the biggest problems is that we have a lack of diversity in firms. It's always same kind of people, with the same kind of thinking, and then we're surprised that we don't have a different kind of solutions. And so I think if firms were to try something different, bring someone from the buyer side, someone who is on the customer side, who has a strong customer voice into the team, who can bring that empathy into the organization in a strong decision-making role, and help the organization understand the customer and bring that customer voice in. That can really be a change. That can really be a game changer, I think. And I think the other thing is we don't have enough multidisciplinary teams in law firms. So we were talking about skills before. How do you learn these skills? Where do you learn these skills? So I think that, in my experience at least, I would have loved to have the business development person, or the marketing person, or the innovation person in the room when I'm speaking with a partner, and that's missing. That's always missing. Someone who knows how to listen, someone who brings a different experience, a different skill set. And I think that today more than ever, in order to create innovative solutions and innovative services, we need an innovative team. That means a diverse team of people comprised of different disciplines. A multidisciplinary team. And the more diverse the team is, the better the chance that you'll have a solution that the customer can use. And I think, and this is what I like about service design. So I'm a big believer in service design, and one of the biggest principles of service design is to create with the customer using multidisciplinary teams. And I think this is something that is really lacking. And if we want to teach lawyers new skills of empathy, of curiosity, of collaboration, nothing like learning that from people from other experiences and skills. Work with that business development person, work with that marketing person, have them in front of the customer also, not only the partner. I think that can be a real change. These legal professionals, I think they bring a very different mindset, and I think firms have this amazing source of innovation right there under their nose, and they're not using them. And I would have loved to have that part of the delivery team.
Yeah. No, I think that's interesting. I mean, you're pretty much, it sounds like what you're saying is somewhat about repositioning legal services as from providing advice and advisory services to providing solutions to concrete challenges.
Yes. So this is what I'm saying. So when I said, if we're about legal knowledge, today we're about legal experience. Okay, we are delivering a service. The world is changing, and I think there's so much that we can take from other industries also. And I think that customers want a service that meets their needs, that is fit for their industry. And they want an efficient and effective solution for their problems, and you can't provide that with just lawyers. You need other people there. You need service designers, and you need UX people, and you need tech people, and you need marketing people. And I think if we're trying to really differentiate ourselves and innovate, I think this is what firms should be doing. Thinking of firms as delivering a service and not just giving bespoke advice, because this is not. It's also not cost efficient. And I think that especially now, people are looking for more efficient and effective and cost effective solutions. It's. I can't think of a better time to do this.
Yeah.
So this is where I see it going. This is where I see it going. By the way, I mean,
yeah.
If you look at the competition, so I mean there are some already doing it. if we look at the Big Four, for example, and the Big Four I think is a great example, because there in some ways you have multidisciplinary teams putting together, designing together a service, and a service or a product rather than just advice, and it's working. It's working, and this is these are great solutions to the customer's problem.
So I'm also curious to hear, and you alluded to this a little bit earlier, but coming from the legal tech world, what the role of technology is. And obviously technology is a tool and not a solution, but what should law firms be evaluating when they're looking at purchasing legal technology?
So first of all, I don't think they should be starting with technology in mind at all. This is really, I don't believe in that. I think that whenever I purchase a legal technology, so it's really funny because we would schedule a meeting with a vendor, and then the vendor would come, and then I'd be there with my IT team. And then the first reaction when they hear about what the legal tech company is doing is always the same reaction from IT. Why do we need this? We already have something else that can do something similar. And it's true. It's exactly that. So I think there are great technologies out there. So I love technology. I've been working with technology companies my entire career. I'm not I love trying new things all the time. But I think that a lot of the discussions that we see are starting with, okay, which technology should we use when we talk about innovation? And I think that's the wrong discussion to have. I think that the discussion should be, okay, let's first understand what our needs are. Let's first understand what our problems are. And we do this by sitting with our customers, okay? What are their needs? What do we have now? Do we have anything now that can help? And then once we have a better idea, once we have a better idea of our needs, then we can start looking at the once we have a better idea of the problem. First of all, understand the problem, then we can start putting together through collaboration with the various people. We can then try and understand the possible solutions, and then see what's out there. Is there something that we already have that can maybe address that? In many cases, we do. We just don't use it. There's so many technologies that companies have that they don't even use them. They're not even aware of them. So I think that should be the discussion, and then only once we understand the need, can we really talk about yes technology or not technology. Is it something that technology can actually solve or not? Is it a process problem? Is it a people problem? Is it a cultural problem? So it's interesting because ever since COVID, everybody's talking about collaborative technologies. Okay, I spent a lot of time in video conferencing companies. Okay, I come from the world of video, and we've been dreaming about it days like this for years. So that people will embrace video this way. Okay, this was our fantasy. And now everybody's all crazy about Slack and about Teams and about Zoom, and everybody's just looking how to create knowledge and spread knowledge via various collaborative platforms. Now, the interesting thing is I've seen many cases where a company has 5 different collaboration tools and there's no collaboration happening. Okay, so I've seen it firsthand. It wasn't a pretty sight and this is exactly what I'm saying. We have to first understand what the problem is, and first, this is why the people in the process and the culture side is just so key. Because if the people aren't ready and they're not really working together, no technology is gonna create that collaboration between them. So I think that's really the first thing that we have to understand, is that it's a solution to our problem, and we first have to understand it. I don't know if this answers your question.
Yeah. No, it does. And I think you actually put your finger on, one of the biggest problems that pervades not just law firms, but I think organizations that are not new as a whole, which is it's a cultural issue somewhat. That I was in an organization where I led the implementation of Slack, and everyone used Slack for one-on-one conversations. No one knew how to use the channels, and people didn't seem to realize that the point of Slack was to foster basically this kind of team collaboration. And since then, maybe they've kind of figured that out. But leading a digital transformation project is about so much more than just installing the technology and providing training. And I think that's the mistake that a lot of organizations make when they purchase technology, that they buy it, they train people, and then they blame their users for not being able to figure out how to maximize the value of it without really understanding where it's going to fit into existing kind of cultures and workflows.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. I know firms are literally sitting on, expensive technologies that just, lawyers or the other users, they're not using because there wasn't a real need, or they didn't do the whole implementation and the preparation process correctly. And that's why we really need to spend more time first on the people and the needs and the problems and the culture.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, we've spoken about how COVID-19, kind of in the hindsight provided by history, is probably going to be a good thing for companies and firms that can take out the right lessons. So I'd like to hear more about basically what firms as a whole should be changing with respect to the way that they interact with clients. So beyond, encouraging lawyers to have empathy and have some more meaningful conversations with their clients, what can law firms do to foster that?
That's a great question. I mean, I think that's like a $1 million question. I'm going back to what I said before. I think we need the right people to facilitate it. I mean, again, lawyers are not expected to know everything and do everything by themselves, and they're not omnipotent. I mean, even though we are trained to believe that we are, there is a greater team there. There are other people there, and I think that there are these amazing people working in firms, or if there aren't, then we should bring them over. People who have this ability to really facilitate these discussions and create this collaboration with customers, because it is really, really the key. The winners, and the ones that are going to be ahead of the curve are going to be the ones that understand the importance of listening and collaboration with customers and creating new solutions with customers. Those are the ones that are going to be ahead of the curve. And they're the ones that understand that to do this, you need a multidisciplinary team. So if there was something that needs to be done, that really should be the focus. Bringing the people who have strong customer voice and who can facilitate and create these discussions. I'm telling you, last 2 weeks, I've had like 10 conversations with 10 different law firms just about this. But it's an issue. It's an issue, and they understand it now in COVID more than ever, because they understand that they're really missing the mark. Okay, the webinars are not enough. They're not working, and people are not engaging with all the content that everybody is bombarding the customers with. And I think that the needs and the standards are changing with COVID, because people are in a big hurry. Everything is much more complex, and the budget is a different budget, which means that we have to be coming up with different solutions. And so I think, having these conversations are the key, because if you don't have the conversations, you don't know what they're going through, you don't know what they need, and you can't create prototypes and go into a feedback loop with them and really, really create these things with customers, because that is really the key. Starting with a new service for a customer and then leveraging it across the firm with other customers. So, and to do that, it all starts with a conversation. And people who are comfortable having these conversations. We're not afraid of having these conversations. So that is, I think, one of the biggest giveaways, biggest takeaways from COVID-19.
I think that's a good one. And I think, for young lawyers, and especially lawyers who are really just out of law school and just starting to begin their legal careers, what do you think they should do kind of early on to prime themselves to be the type of lawyer who either knows how to leverage the talent around them to provide those solutions to their clients, or can really kind of listen to their clients and be that ear when clients need them?
Great question. I mean, I think it's a really complex time to be a young lawyer, because there's so much change and so much talk and so much hype around us. It's difficult to know who to listen to. I think one thing is really key, and really key these days is they should be doing a lot of learning. And when I say learning, it's not just learning about legal. It's not just reading legal stuff. I think they should be trying to. And by the way, social media is a great source for that, because there are a lot of people from different disciplines and different backgrounds that are sharing a lot of knowledge. And I would first try and follow people who have who have something different to say. And who don't necessarily agree with my viewpoint on things, and so it's a great source of learning. So spend a lot of time learning, and I think the second thing to do, if I were a young lawyer today, is I'd spend time collaborating, working with people from different backgrounds and firms. So if there is a way for me to spend half time, right now it's a bit of a problem because of COVID, to hang out with people, yeah. But if I could have a virtual coffee or a virtual lunch with people from other backgrounds in the firm, so I know people from the innovation team, or people from the business development team, people from the marketing team, just spend time with them. There's so much that we can learn from them. I definitely do that. That's something that, and if we can, if there's a way to be part of a project that involves a multidisciplinary team, definitely go for that. Because we learn most through these kind of projects and collaborations and experience. And so I really think that could be a wonderful way to learn new skills. And there are some great initiatives out there that are facilitating these problem solving missions involving multidisciplinary teams. I don't know if you're familiar with them. I'm sure you are. Like Law Without Walls, for example. I don't know if you're familiar with Law Without Walls. It's so
let's elaborate on it for our listeners.
Okay, so Law Without Walls is it's a program that was set up by Miami Law School by Michelle DeStefano, and the whole idea is to mentor young law students around new skills and upskilling young lawyers by putting them together in a multidisciplinary team and letting them solve real-world issues through these teams, and it's supposed to be an amazing experience. And I've been following it for a while, and it's supported and endorsed by law firms, also by some law firms. And you have really interesting mentors coming from various backgrounds, etc. So anyway, just giving an example of it's interesting, because if it was if law was always about know-it-alls, today it's mostly about learn-it-alls. So it's really changing in that sense, because it used to be always having the answer and always knowing and not being in a vulnerable position. And today it's really about learning. And this applies to young lawyers and to more experienced lawyers. Everybody, we all need to unlearn and relearn. So it's and then this is a great example of how to do that and where to do that.
Yeah, and I'll provide some details about Law Without Walls in the show notes. And that takes me to my last question, which is my question that I ask all of our guests, and that is about what you really see as the vision for the law firms of the future.
Okay, I think it's a lot of it. I sprayed all over within the various questions, but I think the firms of the future will be firms that understand that that delivery of legal services isn't about the lawyers; it's about the customer. First of all, okay. I think that's one thing, and I think in that respect, there's so much that they need and should take from other industries, and from other disciplines, such as user experience, for example, and product. And really, this is where things are going, and I think that the firms of the future understand that and will bring that talent in and create those multidisciplinary teams that can deliver these services and experiences, and that understand that a lot of it will require special and new collaborations with customers, with different and various providers. It's not going to be just about firms. There are other players in the legal ecosystem that the clients need. So, and if it's really about the client, then you take the firm, take the various vendors, and take the customer and put them in one room, and together we can create something that will really help solve the customer's problems, and that really should be the focus. And I think it's the firms that understand that and are willing to, are brave and curious enough and we're willing to experiment and really do that, then I think, a co-design. It's going to be about co-design and collaboration. And I think this is where the future. This is where the firms of the future are going. With everything that entails. The people side, the process side, the technology side, the experience side, and that's where I see the firms of the future with new business models. There are the beauty about all these different new services and products is that they're going to bring new revenue streams and new ways of new business models and new ways of working with the customer. And I think that's really going to be the real innovations.
All right, and I'm excited to see that change play out over the next probably few decades. I was going to say few years, but that seems ambitious.
You're probably right. Yeah, I'm optimistic. I hope that decade. Let's give it a decade.
All right, 1 decade. Deal. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. And I look forward to continuing this conversation.
Me too. Thanks so much for having me, Bernie.